Well, guys, I was going to do this video outside. I like doing videos outside better than in here in my office. However, I've been hearing some thunder, so as soon as I got out there doing the video, I know the rain would start and mess everything up, and I'd have to come in the house, bring my cameras in, and things like that. So I decided to go ahead and just make this video here in my office today. Hopefully, you don't mind. I know most of you all like the videos outdoors, but it is what it is. I have several important news topics to talk about here today in this video. But first, I want to address something I've been seeing a lot of people saying in comments and online, and that is that the Donald Trump assassination attempt was staged. People are saying that Donald Trump let himself get shot through the ear to boost his campaign, to gain sympathy and to gain votes. And to me, that is ridiculous. In my opinion, there's no way whatsoever at all that anyone would volunteer to stand and be shot through the ear with an AR-15 or with anything else for that matter. Especially at 120 to 130 yards where it would be really, really easy to miss. I mean, you take the typical AR-15 and it will shoot a group of about 1.5 to 3 inches, depending on the AR and things like that. And that's with good optics and a shooting vise from a bench. You take someone that's just climbed up a ladder, got on a roof, and is full of adrenaline with a AR-15 that has a red dot sight on that. He's not going to allow himself to be shot through the ear by someone like that or anyone else, in my opinion. To think something like that is just silly. I mean, you have so much, just a half an inch here, and you either miss completely or the person that you're shooting toward is dead. So to think that Donald Trump actually stood there, turned his head at the right moment, and knew he was going to be shot through the ear is silly. It really is. It's silly. And you all know I don't blindly support politicians at all. You know, I try to look at things objectively, and that's what I'm doing here. No way that it was prearranged that Donald Trump be shot through the ear. Even if it was, a expert sniper with a high dollar rifle, high dollar optics, it would still be, far too dangerous to do that. And no one in their right mind, no one with any sanity at all, would stand in there and let someone get that close to their head to shoot them through the ear. It's not going to happen. And other people have said that if shot through the ear, it would completely take the ear off. And it would depend on how it hit. I would say, I haven't seen his ear now. It stayed under a bandage, so no one has really saw what the aftermath is of this. But I would say that when he was hit through the ear, it hit just right at the edge. It just about missed, but hit right at the edge. And the bullet that hit right on the edge of the ear could definitely take a small chunk out. It could cause the amount of blood that we saw on the side of Donald Trump's face. He said that the RNC that he had blood all over his hands and things like that. He didn't. I looked at the videos and I watched the videos closely. I looked at still photographs. There wasn't a lot of blood. I saw a little bit on his fingers right here and on his ear running down his face. So there really wasn't a whole lot of blood. He was saying that they were because, he's milking this for all he can for political gain because this happened now. Saying, that's what politicians do. But he said he was covered in blood, said his hands was covered in blood, but he had a little bit on his fingers right here I saw, and it was difficult to find photographs of that. He had a little bit of blood on his fingers, and a little bit on his ear there we saw, and down his face. So I would say the bullet just hit just the edge of his ear and took maybe a little small chunk out of his ear, and that's what happened. Alright guys, now with that out of the way, let's talk about something else. I've heard a lot about the Trump assassination attempt, and quite frankly, I would like to move on to some different topics, especially in this video here today. But I want to address what some of the people are saying and some of the rumors and some of the conspiracy theories that are floating around. I don't know everything, but that is my opinion. This is from the Montana Standard. U.S. debt $400 billion higher than projected in 2024. Washington. The Congressional Budget Office said Tuesday that it projects this year's federal budget deficit to be $400 billion higher, a 27% increase compared to its original estimate released in February. So they released an estimate in February, and it's now the reality is 27% higher at $400 billion. The major drivers of the change include higher costs from the supplemental spending package signed in April that provides military aid to Ukraine and Israel, of course, higher than estimated cost of reducing student loan borrow balances, increased Medicaid spending, and higher spending on FDIC insurance after the agency has not yet recovered payments it made after the banking crisis of 2023 and 2024. The report also projects that the nation's publicly held debt is set to increase from 99% of gross domestic product at the end of 2024 to 122% of gross domestic product, or GDP, the highest level ever recorded by the end of 2034. And guys, this other article here is astounding. I mean, look at these numbers. That is $1,140,000,000,000. I mean, that is unimaginable. Interest payments on U.S. national debt will shatter $1,140,000,000,000 this year, eating 76% of all income taxes collected. That is extraordinary. I mean, you think of that, and that's the interest payments on the debt. That's not the debt. That's the interest payments on the debt. And it's going to take 76% of all taxes to just pay the interest on the debt. And as the debt keeps growing, they're not going to be able to pay the interest on the debt. It is, I mean, if you look at that much money and you think of how much that actually is, just interest payments, I mean, there's no way this can keep on going like it is. It is crazy. The vast majority of Americans' income taxes are now being swallowed up just to pay interest on the country's national debt, new numbers show. Economist E.J. Antoni reports that based on the Fed's June numbers, interest on the national debt is equivalent of 76% of all personal income taxes collected by the government. That is, I mean, it is extraordinary. It really, truly is extraordinary to be in that much debt. There's no way that the dollar can keep going with this much debt. And we have personal debt, and we have the BRICS nations working together to dump the dollar. We have Saudi Arabia getting off the petrodollar. So everything points to major economic crash. It's going to happen. I know a lot of people will come on here and say, you preppers have said this for decades now. We're a lot closer now than we were then. These numbers are astronomical. These numbers are so large that I don't even know what to say about these numbers sometimes, because it is difficult to me to imagine $1,140,000,000,000 a year on interest payments. I mean, that is wow. That's all I can say. That is wow. It cannot go on much longer, especially the way the BRICS nations are working together to dump the dollar, the way Saudi Arabia is dumping the petrodollar. I mean, the writing is on the wall. It's obvious what's going to happen. Economic collapse. Better get prepared for it. This next article over here points to a wider spreading war in the Middle East. Israeli military sends draft notices for ultra-Orthodox Jews. Before, if you were an ultra-Orthodox Jew, you wasn't required to join the military, and now they're sending draft notices to ultra-Orthodox Jews. So that tells me that they're expecting a wider war, and that what's went on there with Israel and Gaza and what's going on now with Israel and Hezbollah and Iran, that they know it's going to expand, and that it's not went, the way they expected it to, and that they took a lot more casualties than what they're telling us, because if they're going to draft ultra-Orthodox Jews into the military, then that tells me that the war hasn't went the way they had planned, and they've lost a whole lot larger number of the IDF than what we've been told. This other article here, Netanyahu to speak before U.S. Congress amid Gaza ceasefire tensions. And this is another thing that tells me that they know they're going to expand and that it's not going the way that they want, because Netanyahu is going to go speak before Congress because he's going to try to get more military support in the form of weapons and money and things like that. And more than likely, also, he's going to try to get the United States military, Navy, and the United States military as a whole to go help fight this war on the ground and to provide, support there with the United States military. That's what that is all about, in my opinion. This other article here, you've probably heard about this already. Biden drops out of 2024 race after a disastrous debate inflamed age concerns. Vice President Harris gets nod. Biden has recommended Harris, suggested Harris, but it remains to be seen if she's actually the pick. I've heard lots of different things. I've heard Big Mike. I don't think it's going to happen. I've heard Gruesome Newsom. Probably not going to happen, but it could. I've heard that Hillary is going to come back and run against Trump again. So who knows at this point? But right now it's looking like Vice President Camel Face Harris. This article over here. This will probably piss a lot of people off, but it's the facts, unfortunately. Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance, how PayPal founder boosted VP candidate's political career. And it talks down through here about how he helped J.D. Vance, but who is Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel is Bilderberg meeting. And this steering committee, if you go down here, Peter Thiel, U.S. President. So he is on this Bilderberg and all this Bilderberg group, and this is all globalist. So we have Peter Thiel pretty much making J.D. Vance, so you know that he owes Peter Thiel a lot of favors because he invested his money, invested his time through the years to pretty much make and put J.D. Vance in the position that he's in. So you have Bilderberg meeting Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance, how PayPal founder boosted vice president candidate's political career. And then you have over here, Donald Trump is considering Jamie Dimon for Treasury Secretary after a love fest. I hope it wasn't a love fest like we're thinking about a love fest. CEO meeting. JP Morgan Chase CEO has said he has thought about serving in one capacity or another in Trump's administration. Donald Trump is weighing tapping JP Morgan Chase chief Jamie Dimon as his next Treasury Secretary. You can't drain the swamp by giving the swamp jobs in your administration. But granted, Donald Trump hasn't been talking about draining the swamp this time. He talked about the first time, his first campaign in 2016, about draining the swamp. But we see when he went in that the swamp actually grew in power. But now, I can give him credit. He's not talking about draining the swamp, and right here shows he is. There's Jamie Dimon right there. He is talking about giving the swamp jobs, and that's what this guy is. He's a globalist swamp creature, just like Henry Kissinger. And there's a video of Donald Trump meeting Henry Kissinger when Donald Trump was president, talking about how Henry Kissinger was a lifelong friend, a mentor, how he just loved Henry Kissinger. So you can't drain the swamp, when you are hugging and kissing and loving on the swamp. But like I said, he hasn't said this campaign, as far as I've heard, that he's going to drain the swamp. So we got to give him that. He's not claiming he's going to drain the swamp this time. So there is that. Anyway, I'm just taking the comments below about all these topics, any of these topics, one of these topics. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'm the Creekmore Matter, and I'll see you all in the next video, hopefully.